Adrienne Salinas was living a charmed life in the lively college town of Tempe, Arizona. The gorgeous, vivacious 19-year-old was attending school, had good friends, a serious boyfriend, and a doting father.
She was daddy's little girl. As she grew older, we would still go out, dinner, and to the movies, and spend time together.
The two talked every day and had planned a fun barbecue weekend at home for Father's Day.
When I didn't get in contact with her on Saturday, I had a feeling that something was wrong.
When Sunday came and still no word from Adrienne, Rick Salinas' heart sank.
I went over to her apartment. The door was open, and when I walked in, her dog was there, her cats, and she wasn't there. There was nobody home.
Soon, worry turned into panic.
I called all her friends, family, and with each phone call, my concerns got worse and worse because nobody knew where she was at.
With no one else left to call, Rick called 911.
I said, you know what, my daughter's missing. She's not a runaway.
At that point, our officers actually started doing a canvass of the area.
It was horribly clear Adrienne Salinas had completely disappeared. As police arrived at her apartment, so did friends and her boyfriend, Francisco Arteaga, who said he hadn't seen her since the previous Friday night when the two had a heated argument.
We realized that she hadn't contacted or had conversations or called anybody since Saturday morning.
Just the night before, a group of friends had celebrated a birthday party at Adrienne's apartment. Adrienne and Francisco left the party around 2:30 a.m. After hours of partying, she accused him of not paying attention to her.
We wanted to go to my apartment where it's more private to talk about things, and then things escalated, and then I was taking her back to her house. I was driving to take her back home. On her way home, we had to stop by Old Town, a popular Tempe place for college students, and there's a lot of street lights there, so traffic is moving really slow. And she just hopped out of my car, and sadly, that's the last time I ever saw her.
Francisco called her roommates to make sure she got home safely. They went to find her and walked her back home, but Adrienne took off again.
She goes inside, gets a bag, changes her clothes, and tells her friend that she's going to go back to Francisco's house. At that point, nobody ever sees Adrienne again.
Police soon determined Adrienne left behind a trail of clues, and unfortunately, many of them pointed to foul play.
At about 3:30, she leaves the party. She starts calling Francisco. She calls him at least 37 times. Not once does he answer the phone. He kind of ignores it, doesn't want to talk to her. She sends him a text message, tells him that she's coming over to go see him.
Adrienne then got in her car and headed towards Scottsdale, on her way to her boyfriend's apartment.
We get a 911 call at about 3:44 in the morning about a possible erratic driver, possibly somebody intoxicated.
911, what's your emergency? I just wanted to report the white Taurus-looking vehicle. They were going around the curb and hit something and then just had two flat tires.
What we believe happened at that point is Adrienne drives her vehicle as close as she can back to her apartment and parks it about a block away.
Even though it was almost dawn, Adrienne was clearly determined to reconnect with Francisco.
She goes back to her apartment and she changes her clothes, leaves her car keys, and begins calling her boyfriend again.
When he doesn't answer, she calls a cab company from her cell phone. From this point, Adrienne's story becomes a true mystery. The path she could have taken was only 4 blocks from her apartment to the local gas station where she was heading to meet the cab. But she never shows up. And mysteriously, there's no sign of her on the station's surveillance video.
The driver tells her that he'll pick her up at the AM/PM, which is about a half a mile from her apartment. She has 3 conversations with him. Adrienne never shows up.
On Sunday after she disappeared, Father's Day, Adrienne's dad and Francisco desperately retraced her steps.
As I went around the block from her apartment, I looked down the street and I saw her car parked on the side of the road there. That's when I realized she's really missing. Why would she just leave the car there? Why didn't she call me? She'd call me if the car needed oil.
Despite his questions, Rick tirelessly continued to search for Adrienne, but police had their own questions. They immediately turned their investigation on Francisco, who was given multiple lie detector tests and repeatedly questioned about the trouble in their relationship. They also looked at the cab driver who was scheduled to pick her up at the time she went missing. Both men were eventually cleared as persons of interest.
I quit my job and I just devoted all my time to doing what it takes to find a missing person.
Tempe police made Adrienne a top priority too, searching miles of terrain, investigating hundreds of tips, and conducting dozens of polygraph tests. Despite no signs of Adrienne or her phone, police never gave up hope.
So this is Weeks Wash that we're driving in right now.
Then, a disturbing discovery. 2 months after her disappearance, news her father never wanted to hear. Adrienne's partial remains are found near the Apache Trail in a wash at the base of the Superstition Mountains.
The area where we're at is about over 30 miles from where Adrienne lives and where she went missing. She had to have been transported out here somehow, and we just don't know how she got out here.
In the end, police have no suspects and can't even determine the cause of Adrienne's death.
If there was anybody that was out there that saw anything suspicious, a vehicle pulled off on the side of the road, a struggle, a female walking by herself, somebody that looked distraught, that little piece of information can help us solve this case, to give answers to the family.
Until then, this distraught father is left only with questions.
Did my daughter her last moments here on earth, did she cry out for death? Why could I have been there for her? As a man, as a dad, I always want to protect our children. I wish I had my daughter here to hold again.
If you have any information that could help find Adrienne's killer, please contact the FBI at 800-225-5324.